everybody, and welcome to Tourism in Action. Today I have a special treat for you. I'm at Montreal Gardens. It is an absolutely beautiful and fascinating site. I've never been here before, and the minute I drove through the gate I was completely in awe of what stood before me. I'm going to share my experience with you. This is Timothy Vaughan, who is the current owner of Montreal Gardens.
Welcome.
Mr. Vaughan, thank you for inviting us up here today.
You're very welcome. You have a typically Montreal Gardens day. Windy and wet. But it's very good for the plants.
We don't mind at all, you know, we're in the mountains, that's what you expect.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's such a beautiful site, it's a beautiful, beautiful garden, well done.
Thank you very much.
Would you give us a little tour of the place?
Yes, sure, let's go ahead.
Wonderful, and before we move on, let me introduce you to someone else. This is Mr. Douglas Brisbane. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you, and I'm also very fascinated in what has been added to the gardens. It's fascinating. It's out of this world, and I really am satisfied and happy to know that I had a little part in discovering it first, and then having the experience of Mr. Vaughan come and add to it.
There's a clue there for you. He said he had a little part to play. Well, actually, it's more than a little part. Mr. Brisbane, he's been kind. He's the original owner, and he's the one who started Montreal Gardens. So today, as we walk around, we're going to have a feedback from him. We're going to find out how the garden started, and then Mr. Vaughan will tell us about his plans for the future. Right, the first thing I want you to see is this beautiful little garden down here. You're going to have to come a bit closer and have a look at it. Mr. Vaughan, over to you. Tell us what you've done here.
Well, this was the first thing I ventured upon on having found Montreal Gardens. We started this in the autumn of '96. The initial idea was to do a lily pond, a rectangular mirror lily pond with white lilies. But after hacking into the soil for 4 or 5 days, we had an enormous storm and the ground started washing out. We had cracks going down 20 feet. So I had to give up that idea very quickly and innovate, and it became a pebble garden, a formal pebble garden, which I filled up with begonias. The 4 main bushes are the variegated privet, which you also find growing in Europe. And I filled up both sides with begonias, which flower practically all the year round. And the coleus originally were also on the sides. They've sown themselves in among, and I more or less let things sow themselves as they please.
Do you have any more plans for this little corner?
Right now, no, it's going to stay like it is, except that bit by bit I'm going to replace the begonias with other things like impatiens, which don't require so much work, because the begonias you have to cut them back twice a year as well, otherwise you don't flower.
Okay, wonderful. And on to the next place.
The next case is where people who come up for their marriage photographs stand. Yeah, we can't go there right now because it's been such a heavy, wet night, but otherwise you can go there and have your photograph taken and stand in the shade and watch the view.
Does that vine produce any flowers?
No, it's just a ficus.
Okay.
It's purely, it's a little,
it's an ivy.
That's right.
We call it an ivy.
Because I wasn't able to do the pillars in stone, I did them in cement, just to hide the cement. But it's very pretty when you're standing underneath.
It's lattice with the green heart.
Green heart, yeah.
Beautiful.
Green heart and garnet.
Any other wood would have gone on then.
Since a long time, because I tried Wallaby posts for my fencing, and I'm afraid that's already given up the ghost.
And I see you having back there the beautiful palm.
Sealing wax plant. Yeah, the red one. Lovely, huh? And it does very well up here.
Very tough to produce, to
hard,
propagate.
Extremely hard to propagate, yeah.
This is a good point for me to ask you, Mr. Brisbane. When you originally started this garden, did you ever envision that one day you'd walk into it and it will look as absolutely phenomenal as it does today?
Maybe not, but then again, this is God's country up here. This is where God is, and definitely He has a hand in doing these things. He helps those who want to imagine and do things for themselves and do it. So it's. I thought it was fantastic when I did it, but this is beyond my dreams. Granted, I didn't have time, and I had many other businesses running, and tourism and other things, and every day we had people come visit here, and especially on Saturdays, all the young ladies and gentlemen come up on the Sabbath day. And so it was like a joy for us to have people, but then again, they do a lot of destruction.
Okay, Mr. Vaughan, on to our next destination.
On to our next destination.
This is a lot of planning put into this to have this effect. One don't just bring a few pieces of plants, put them together, throw them anyhow. You have to think how to have as too many things done. And as you walk the path, you see each area has its own method of contact. And the sago palm, look at that, look at the beauty. Take a shot there. How many years?
98. Planted in 98.
Look at that. Only Montreal.
Only Montreal. But do you feel the humidity and the heat? Everybody,
I can feel it
yeah,
The
yeah.
ground covers, you know.
There's no weeds.
The upper one. The 100 year, it's giant. It's a giant palm, and it will die at 100.
Will it?
Yes, once it flowers, it flowers once. It dies.
Would it grow to be very big?
Very massive.
Look at this beautiful flower. I've never seen this before. Mr. Brisbane, is it local to St Vincent?
Not that variety, but there are many of the cannon flowers and plants around, especially in the villages of the country. But that is a very, very rare color that you see. You see it has a yellow edge, and the color is red. It's beautiful, fantastic, and it's not as big, as tall as some of the others we see around. You know?
No, it's a good garden plant because it rests, it stays compact.
Yes.
It doesn't flop too much of the wind, which is worth knowing for windy countries like Beckway where there's a lot of breeze. Huh?
And this shrimp.
Yeah, isn't it huge?
Huge, man.
Uh-huh.
I remember them up here. This is the first place I had them here. Yeah, the shrimp flower. Look at them, see they.
Shrimp flower, is that because the flower looks like a shrimp?
Yes. yes. But the botanical name, I'm not too sure. Mr. Vaughan is more Timothy is the educated one.
I think it's Pachysandra. They changed. It used to be a thing with a name with a B.
We have,
Brachicum.
I'm more familiar with the local term. But he's Kew Gardens?
Yeah.
Kew Gardens. And naturally, he's very experienced in Europe as a gardener of note. You must let us know. You let us
I do some
know that
landscaping.
You have such a vast experience, in especially court gardens.
That's right, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, well let's continue to walk through.
This is Lover's Lookout, exactly, yeah. Yeah. Very romantic little piece, this. And then you can see the last bit of landscaping I did, which is down there.
There's the little cottage in the bushes there.
That's another shelter, you see.
Yes.
This was planted not even 2 years ago, do you realize? This was planted in August of the year of 2001.
Wow.
Now, what is interesting is the tree ferns. Look how he's got them in a section by themselves, and they're so beautiful. I mean, how many people would think of using those tree ferns in a decorative fashion in a piece of plot like that, you know?
Piece of bush.
Piece of bush.
That's what it was.
True.
There were tangerine trees and oranges trees down there, and flower beds. But the flower beds were not not in extremely good state. This is why I got rid of them there.
Yes.
It's extremely wet down there.
Yes.
Water stagnates.
Yes.
Yeah?
And they are the African tulips again.
Yeah.
Actually, that was one of the very few flowering trees that flower here all the time.
All the year round.
The big trees, yes. The other, like flamboyants and pois and so on.
Not enough sun.
Not enough sun, but they would always flower.
Can I ask you something? As we walk around, do you see any of your original plants? Any that you've bonded with over the years? And,
Well, the tulips was one of the things that I introduced here, and the ficuses and the pois, and coconuts, all sort of things we planted. Mangoes, the nutmegs. You have a field
Yeah.
of nutmegs. Yeah, but down here we had cocoa and all. We had cocoa. We tried it, experimented with cocoa, but they didn't do so well, you know. And then cocoa, nobody have cocoa here. They don't drink cocoa tea no more.
Okay, well, let's move on from here.
Yeah, so up here is famous for when the wind blows on the hillside,
It
the
ruffles. It
mountains.
gives a ruffled effect.
See the white,
Yeah.
as if it's snow. The wind turn the leaves up, and it's white. And there's the mountain. It's now going to clear, and you see the waterfalls and the peak of Drambanon.
Can you see the waterfalls from here, or do you need to go up there?
When the cloud lifts, you'll see a waterfall, a big one falling off the center of the mountain.
But you know, just now you mentioned the fact that it's silent. It's one of the few places I know in the world, because I've travelled widely, where you can actually hear the noises of silence. You don't realise probably what I mean, but when you live in a city or an urban area, you don't hear anything because there's always a background noise. You never hear the noise of silence. When I mean the noise of silence, I mean the wind in the trees, the little noise of the birds.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
that sounds like a parrot.
Oh, do you have parrots?
You hear them in the hills. Occasionally my head gardener Remas, who has some land up on the hill, he says he sees them, but they never venture here.
Is that this famous St Vincent parrot?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
wonderful.
yes, the Amazona Gavini. But when I first came here, we saw a few of them flying around.
Yeah, but they're behind.
But they're right over the mountain.
Right. When we climbed up to the top,
on the other,
you could hear them. When we
and
climbed up the
yes,
top of the
it's-
mountain, you
I
could hear
think
them in
it's
the back.
maybe it's too wet here for the parrots. It's cold and wet.
Right, Mr. Vaughan, do you know where I want to see next? Your Anthurium lilies.
Aha.
Thank you very much for bringing me to the Anthurium lilies. They've always been one of my favourite flowers. And this is beautiful what you've done here. Seas and seas of them.
Yes, I've tried to make it as natural as possible by planting tree ferns to give light shade,
Okay.
and it makes for a lovely walk through the flowers for the public when they come up.
It really is a glorious sight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know what I really appreciate about what you've done here? Everywhere we go in the garden, it's like visiting a new place. Everywhere is unique.
Total contrast
It
from the
is.
top to the bottom, isn't it?
Was that intentional when you saw the entire place? Did you say that this spot is going to be my Anthurium place, this is going to be my coloured garden, this bit by the river is going to be like a mini wild...
From the
wild
actual
life?
design point of view, yes, because I saw the topography of the place when I bought it, and I realised then there was such a difference between the top and the bottom that something like that could be done. But I was also guided by what Douglas had done before me in the Anthurium beds and the fruit trees and the various paths that already existed. So I based my vision on what his vision had obviously been.
How does it make you feel when you walk through the garden? And you know, it's your own private backyard. Do you feel tranquil? You feel proud? You know, when you walk through?
No, I don't feel proud. I feel extremely privileged to be able to live in such a spot. But it also makes me extremely happy to be able to share it with the few visitors that do manage to get their way up to the mountain and see it with me.
Right. What about yourself, Mr. Brisbane? When you walk through here, does it bring back nostalgia, memories to you? Do you almost miss it in a way?
Oh God, yes, very much so. I'm very heartbroken. Nostalgia at times, you know. It's really something that it's the second time I've been here since I departed from it. And I'm so privileged to be here now and to see it. It's a dream. It's what the ultimate of a dream I had, but I never really achieved that ultimate. And we mentioned about the differentiations all around. Here's the river, and this river here, you can drink water from it. At least when we had it, you could bend down. We had a pond here, you drink water in it. It's pure and clean. There was no pollution.
Not the case now.
Not the case.
Not the case now. There's not even any crayfish.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to have to say goodbye from Tourism in Action now. I have no poem for you today, but I want to leave you with these words. Please visit Montreal Gardens. You have to come up here. If you don't, you'll be missing out on a wonderful experience of your life. Thank you and good night.